but I'm more spiritual than religious, or I would say I'm both spiritual and religious. But the work that I do mostly is as a teacher for the Art of Living Foundation, which, as Beverly mentioned, is a global humanitarian not-for-profit organization started by His Holiness Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. Now, although I was born and raised Hindu, Art of Living Foundation is secular in nature. What that means is people of all walks of life and people of very different backgrounds enjoy and experience and benefit from the programs that we offer. Uh, I have been a passionate meditator. That has been one constant in my life ever since I learned the Art of Living Foundation techniques, the breathwork and meditation. I haven't missed a single day of meditation. So for past 15 years, or now for past 16 years, I have meditated at least once every day, and most days I've meditated twice. So that's one thing that has stayed constant with me in my life. And you know, I've also had the very unique pleasure to participate through Beverly and some other in Unity congregation in Dallas that I got to know through Beverly. I've had to participate in some of the Unity gatherings, and I think there is a lot common between the Unity teachings and the teachings of Hinduism. One thing that I find common between Unity teachings and the Hinduism tenets is that prayer and meditation is very, very integral to Hinduism, like it is to Unity. So, what I thought we could do, if that's okay with all of you, is why don't we start the session today with a little prayer, and I would say a prayer in Sanskrit, which is the 5,000-year-old language in which all the Hindu texts were written. So, I'd say a little Hindu prayer. And then maybe I can guide you through a meditation, very, very short meditation, a little 5-minute type of meditation. So our mind can be in a more centered space to have a good dialogue and receive knowledge. So why don't we do that? And towards the end, Beverly, the whole team, if you prefer, we can dive into a longer meditation too. Which to begin with, we'll just do a short meditation just to get us into that space to receive. So I would ask all of you to just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths in and out. As much as is possible for you, keep your body still for the next few minutes. When you keep your body still, your mind starts to expand. The mind is not inside the body. The body is inside the mind. Our mind is like the wick of a candle. Our body is like the wick of a candle. And mind is like the glow all over our body. Take your attention to the base of your spine. Now, slowly and gradually, go along the spine up and take your attention to the top of your head. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, slide down to the base of your spine. And as you breathe in, take your attention to the top of your head. Keep doing that at your own pace. Breathing in, top of the head, Breathing out the base of the spine. Now relax your breath and let go of all efforts. Experience total contentment right here, right now. Just be. Om. Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanam Punattu, Sahaviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvinam Ma Vidvisavahi. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Deep breath in and relax. Become aware of your body and your surroundings. And slowly and gradually, as you feel complete, you may open your eyes. No rush. Was it good meditation? Just a few minutes?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
I want to welcome Rocio and Eugene, who also joined.
Hi, all. For those of us who just joined, I wanted to say that, we want to keep the session. So please feel free to interrupt, pause, challenge, ask questions as we go along. And we'll also keep plenty of time towards the end to ask and answer any questions and have further discussions. Now, as I thought about what I could share with you in this session, sharing about Hinduism is really, really, really hard because there is no single book, there is no single founder, there is no single set of tenets. In fact, Hindus are mavericks in the way they follow Hinduism. Everybody does their own thing, and the religion actually provides for that. So, what I thought I'll do to begin with is just have some fun with you and share certain myths about Hinduism. And so I can tell you what Hinduism is not, and then I'll try to bring it together and I share a little bit about what are some of the basic fundamental principles that Hinduism is based on. So, myth number one, here we are talking about Hinduism as a religion many times. Hinduism is not a religion. I don't know if that comes as a surprise to many of you or some of you, but see, the basic foundational principles of a religion do not apply to Hinduism. There is no founder. Nobody founded Hinduism. There is no one single book that Hindus follow. There's tens and hundreds of books that Hinduism follow. There is no foundational guidelines or foundational tenets that all Hinduism subscribe to. So Hinduism basically is a way of life. You know, it originated in the Indian subcontinent. It's a very, very old civilization, thousands of years old, and people just figured out a better way of living, a way of living, a more fulfilling, a more, uh, uh, a deeper life, and that started to be called Hinduism. The Hindus never called it Hinduism. It was just the outer world that started to call it Hinduism. So it's a myth. Hinduism is a religion. It's just a way of life for people who lived in that region, and then it spread across. And just because that area is very densely populated, it's the third largest religion in the world now, if you call it a religion. Um, somebody had asked one of the presidents of India, one of the earlier presidents of India, who is a Hindu, and he said, the best way to describe who is a Hindu is somebody who is not a Christian, who's not a Sikh, who's not a uh, who's not a Buddhist, so on and so forth. You could say that person is a Hindu because there is nothing that actually defines what Hinduism is. So that's myth number one that I wanted to share with you. Myth number two, and this is a very, very commonly held belief, and in fact, some Hindus who haven't studied Hinduism in detail would also believe that, which is kind of surprising and amusing to me. But that Hinduism has many gods. It's a multi-theistic religion. Believe in many gods. Anybody who's ever seen a Hindu book or visited Hindu temples, you would have seen large number of gods. There's no count. I don't even have a count, even though I was raised Hindu. How many gods are there? So it's natural to assume that Hinduism believes in multitude of gods, that there are many gods, but that is a myth. It's actually incorrect. Hinduism does not believe in many gods. Hinduism believes in one God. But what Hinduism says is that one divinity, that one God, you can worship it in any form. It doesn't matter. So if you are somebody who is into bodybuilding, there is a form of the divine that highlights that aspect. If you are somebody who is into business and economy and money making, there is a form of the divine that highlights that aspect. Or if you're a warrior, there is a form of divine that highlights that aspect. So you can see divine in any form because the divine is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient, has so many qualities that it's impossible to do anything that would describe all the qualities of the divinity. So what you do is you take certain qualities of the divinity and see those qualities in a particular form, knowing fully well that that form or the set of qualities is not the divine is beyond that. But uh, the way I would describe it is, it's really hard for somebody to see, for a normal human to see God within themselves, because we see all the flaws that we have. So then what you do is you create a God that's external to you, and it's easier to see God in something external. And then when you create a God that's external to you, you create God in many forms and shapes and fashions. That's really what it is. So Hinduism truly believes in one divinity, one God. However, you are free to choose. You're free to worship that God in any form or fashion that you want. That's myth number two. And myth number three, the last myth that I wanted to share with you, is that Hinduism is a conservative religion, which is natural to believe. Um, it's something that has been in existence for at least 5,000 years. So one would imagine that it's very conservative in its approach. However, if you study Hinduism, you would find that Hinduism actually is a very, very liberal way of thinking. It doesn't prescribe you anything that you're required to do. Can I request everybody to be on mute if you're not talking, just so it's easier to hear? I see Beverly,
Yes,
you're muting
I'm sorry.
everybody.
Yeah, I was unmuting because I didn't know if you were about to ask for input. So I'll put it back on mute. Just one second.
No, actually, yeah, I'm hoping as you have questions or input, please feel free to raise your hand and so
Okay,
it's
I
you know
muted you when I muted everyone. So,
yeah,
so
yeah,
if everyone will just unmute themselves when they have a question, and you do that by looking at the little microphone looking device symbol and clicking on it, or you can put it in the chat and I'll unmute you.
yeah. So I would say Hinduism is a very, very liberal thought. It doesn't prescribe you what to do. It doesn't show you one path. In fact, Hinduism by nature says that there are many paths and there is one God. You can choose the path that works for you. And as a Hindu growing up, it was very, very common, and nobody questioned it when it was Christmas. My mom would take me to the church, and when there were Muslim festivals, we would go to the mosque and the dargah, which is a praying place for mosque, a praying place for Muslims. We would go to Jewish temples, but basically go to all religions. My wife, she went to a school that was a Catholic school, uh, although she was raised as a Hindu, and nobody questions that. As a Hindu, nobody questions that. In fact, when I came here to the United States, a lot of people started to wonder, is it okay for you as a Hindu to be visiting a church, or was it okay for you that your wife went to a Catholic school and she was raised as a Hindu? But a Hindu would not question these things because it's just perfectly normal. That's the Hindu way of life. You understand that, and that there are many paths to the same that lead to the same God, and you can choose whatever path that you want. They all get to the same place. So I would say Hinduism is a very all-inclusive type of belief, and it's very liberal in its thought. I'll pause here and see if you have any questions or reactions to what I've said so far.
What about yoga?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I had a guru. I did Raja Yoga, and yes, Ganesh and I forget the names, but I mean all the god and goddesses.
Yeah.
What's the difference, or is there a difference?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all.
So yoga, the Sanskrit word yoga, means union, the union of body and mind. What the way yoga originated was that there were these, we call them scientists, but there were these saints, the renunciates, who used to live in jungles and who used to meditate and pray a lot. And they realized that for them to be able to sit and meditate for long periods of time, they need to have strong physical body and strong minds. So they started to develop this science or this field of thought, which helped them keep their body and mind strong. Which then later, a saint called Saint Patanjali, he organized it into a more systematic science, which is what we follow today. Um, so you can say it was linked to Hindu religion, but it is not really a part of the Hindu religion. What is also interesting about yoga is that the Western world adopted one aspect of yoga, which is the physical postures. In fact, yoga has 8 limbs. The way when Patanjali organized the yoga, he organized yoga in 8 limbs. And one of the limbs is the asanas, which is the physical postures. But there are 7 other limbs. And meditation, which is called dhyana in Sanskrit, is one of those limbs. And then there are many others. It will be a whole different session if you want to get into the 8 limbs, which is a very, very beautiful set of knowledge. But yoga is that holistic practice that makes your life better. I would say yoga, you can look at yoga as the spiritual aspects of Hinduism, and not even just Hinduism. It's just the spiritual aspect of life is what yoga is really. But thank you for that question. It's a very, very relevant question.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Rajneesh, Yes, I have a question. Which of the gods do you most closely associate with?
Which of the gods I mostly closely associate? I associate more with the spiritual aspects of Hinduism, which would be uh, the meditative and reflective aspects of Hinduism. However, the god that I would most closely associate with is the Shiva. And there is a trinity that's described in Hinduism. There is the creation, the energy of creation, which is Brahma. And Lord Brahma is described as sitting on a lotus flower. So the idea is that when your mind is so light that you can even be sitting on a flower, that's when the real creativity happens. So that's the creation. That's the energy of creation. Then there is the energy of maintenance, which is described with Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu is depicted as sitting on a serpent. So serpent represents alertness. And the idea is that to maintain, you need to be alert. And the god that I associate most with is the Lord Shiva, which represents transformation, the Lord of transformation. So everything has to be created, maintained, and then transformed. So Shiva is that energy that pervades the whole universe and depicts the energy of transformation.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Was this a surprise? This is something that you were familiar with, or this does not make sense? Anybody? Okay.
Rajneesh, I just wanted to add, there are so many more. Yes, the prayer and meditation are a similar um, focus for unity, but also all the omnis. You mentioned omnipresence and omniscience and omnipotence. Those are core unity principles as well.
Mhm.
And we have a statement that of faith that we make every week. There's only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God, the good, the omnipotent. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
we hold to that universal. And I always say to people after I give a talk, if people come up and say, I don't agree with what you said. I'm like, wonderful. That means you're listening and you're forming your
Exactly.
own thoughts. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of similarity there.
That's awesome to hear, Beverly. Maybe you should share more about what the similarities are. I would be curious to hear as well.
Well, really most everything you've said as far as, you can go and if someone comes into Unity, when I was in Dallas, a gentleman came in and he said, I want to convert. I really
Mhm.
like being here, but I grew up Muslim, but I want to convert. And I said, you don't have to convert.
Yeah.
You can be Muslim and you can still come and enjoy Unity. You don't have to
Yeah.
lose anything. There are plenty of Catholics who come and they like the ritual of Catholicism, but they like the practical teachings. And that's what Unity is. It's practical teachings, just like you're saying about Hinduism. It's more a way of life than it is a religion. And so Unity is the same, really. It's more, every week I give a weekly practice because
Yeah.
it's not about come in, feel good for an hour and go home. It's go out and do in your life and be and be the presence.
Yeah.
So we
And
can borrow rituals from any religion and work them into our special services or our Sundays or whatever we want to do, because of that open-minded, I don't know that it's necessarily liberal, and it's not liberal, it's like, it just is.
yeah,
So
it is very inclusive, which
yeah,
is which
very,
is
very
which is what I
inclusive.
find great about the unity. I'll share three. So if I had to share stuff about Hinduism, what are the three tenets that I would share with you? And then maybe what we'll do is I have a 5-minute video by Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. I'll share a little bit about him before we get into the video, but then I'll share a video where he describes some of this, and it's less than 5 minutes. So many ways to worship one reality. I talked about that a little bit. That it's not multi-theistic, even though you would see in different Hindus, attaching themselves to different aspects of the divinity. The idea is that there's one reality, there's one divinity, and you can worship it in any form or fashion you like, and all paths lead to the same divinity. The ritual, the way you worship does not matter. What really matters is the devotion in your heart, which is what connects you to the divinity. Then one divinity in many forms, whole world is a family. So that's a very, very interesting aspect of Hinduism. In Sanskrit, it is described as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. What Hinduism says is that all of us are sparks of divine. I have the spark of divine within ourselves. All of us are actually divine ourselves, representation of the divine. So I'm connected to all of you because ultimately we are all a part of that one single consciousness. And in a way, we are all one single family. It doesn't matter if somebody is Christian, somebody is Sikh, somebody is Buddhist or Muslim or Hindu. We are, at the end of the day, we are all a part of one family, and we grow together, and we learn together. The third aspect is also very, very interesting. The God and creation are one. And this might differ from some other religions like Islam. I've studied Islam a little bit, and Islam would differ a little bit on this, where Hinduism has two sides of it which it recognizes both. One is called the dualistic principle, and one is called the non-dualistic principle. So the dualistic principle is I am separate, God is separate. And then I pray to God and God gives me things, right? And described in a very simple colloquial language. The non-dualistic aspect of Hinduism believes that there is no difference between God and I. In fact, the entire creation is nothing but God. You know, if you ask Sri Sri, the founder of Art of Living, can you see God? I cannot see God. You know what he would say is, I see nothing but God. All I see is God. All I see is divinity, because the creation and the creator is just one. There is no difference. So whether it's a tree, it's a dog, or it's other animals and insects, or the inanimate rocks, or human beings, we are all a part of that creation. We are all the creation and the creator itself. So in Hinduism, you can actually reach a stage where there is no difference between the divine and the devotee, if you will. Whereas some other religions may not find that. So what Hinduism describes is that if it works for you to see God as separate, you can do that. And that's the dualistic principle. Ultimately, the dualistic principle is a stepping stone to the non-dualistic principle, where you stop seeing God as separate from you, but God and you become one. So that's the third aspect. Let me pause here, see if there's any reflection, or otherwise we can go to the video.
Rajneesh, everything you just said 100% aligns with unity principles.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm. Everything that you said.
Unity actually started off as a school of Christianity. It wasn't really a church. They call it a church nowadays, but back in the beginning, it was a school of Christianity. People looking to explore more about their relationship with the divine. And we've talked with people recently that express that very idea that you're talking about, that we are God. We are reflections of God. Everything around us is. So I mean, that kind of ties in with what you're saying about the non-dualistic approach. We're all part of the same essence expressing itself in multitudinous ways.
It's a beautiful thought, Mark. And I didn't know about the school of Christianity is what used to be called, and now it's transformed itself into a church. But it's the same thing. We should look at church and temples as schools where we learn more about divinity and experience it.
Well, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were the founders of Unity. And we don't call it a religion, and it falls into Christianity because we do believe that Jesus was a way shower, but we don't believe Jesus was the only way shower. So we believe that, I mean, we do use the Bible as our basic text, but allegorically and not literally, like a lot of organizations that refer to Christianity. And it really was always referred to as the Unity movement. It was a movement of consciousness, expanding consciousness, and teaching people that their consciousness can create healing and transformation in their lives. So that was really what the Fillmores intended. But because there was so much structure of church, I think they finally gave in. You know, they had originally meditation and prayer circles for people to come together and support one another. But they said, go to your church. This is not church. This is added to church. But then as we moved into the Sunday morning experience, it became more churchy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're kind of moving back away from that now to less churchy. And I think for us here in the Hill Country, being forced to do more of this online experience is going to take us more away from that. We'll still have a Sunday morning experience, but it'll give us a chance to expand and offer more as we are less church, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
and more learning.
Human beings like to put labels, and that's the nature of the head, right? And the nature of the heart is expansion, and the heart wants all inclusive, and the head wants a label. Where do I belong? I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, and, you know, I'm an American. We want labels, and you know, I'm a Christian becomes another label. Yeah. Let me let me share a little bit about Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, because you're going to see him on video. So Sri Sri Ravi Shankar is the foremost thought leader in meditation in the world today. He founded the Art of Living Foundation, which is what I teach for, and that's my volunteer work. Professionally, I'm an executive with a Fortune 500 company called Intuit. But anyways, so Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, he founded this Art of Living Foundation, and the foundation is an educational not-for-profit. We offer programs. Our core program is called the Happiness Program, which is what Beverly was referencing earlier. And our mission is to put a smile on every face, one person at a time. We do a lot of service work around the world, but you know, primarily we offer educational programs that people can benefit from. And in the Unity of Dallas, we actually had a thriving program where we're teaching happiness programs under Beverly's leadership quite a bit. Let me share his video, and then we'll bring this to a close and talk a little bit more. Do you guys see the video? I've not started it yet. I just want to make sure you're seeing it. Yeah, I'll play it now. If you don't see it, please raise your hand.
Okay. When you chose the share, did you click the bottom row that said optimize for video?
I did not, but let me do that now.
Okay.
Yeah, is it not looking good?
It's we can't hear it, and it's not really showing. So.
Okay. So let's, I'm going to stop sharing and I'll do that again. So share screen, multiple participants can advance sharing options.
On the bottom, it says optimize across the. If not, I can share it.
I sent you the link, Beverly. Maybe it's just easier. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it.
That was a super quick video, but hopefully it gave you a flavor of somebody very, very evolved, how he describes Hinduism. We have a few minutes. Any reflections, questions, anything you'd like to share?
I just wanted to throw out the comment that it all sounds good in an airy-fairy kind of way, but this concept that we're talking about with God includes the soldiers on the war field, includes the burglar who's stealing things, includes the murderer. They're all part of God, and we don't want to reject them and separate them from the oneness of all.
It's a very deep thought, Mark. And when we say that God is omnipotent, which means the God is in devil also. So there is no devil. There is God in me and you, and there's God in devil. Because if the God wasn't in the devil, then the God would lose the quality of being omnipotent. So very much so, yes.
And omnipresent and
And
omniscient, all the three omnis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rajneesh, one of the things that we teach in Unity, especially when we're looking at scripture from anywhere, is that you're all the characters. You're not, you may identify with a particular archetype, but the rejection of any archetype, whether it is the shadow or the darkness of any form, is also a rejection of an aspect of yourself. So the rejection actually feeds what it is that you think you're rejecting. So we're very much aligned in that way as well. It's like we're all aspects.
Yeah. Beverly, what you said reminded me of something that Jesus said, right, which is considered controversial by many, which is when he said that those who have will be given more, and those who don't, whatever little they have, would also be taken away. The founder, Sri Ravi Shankar, he describes it beautifully. He says that whatever you put attention on, that grows in life. So if you put attention on, I have a lot, I have abundance, then that would grow in life. So those who have will be given more. And those who are putting their attention on not having, whatever little they have would also be taken away. If you put attention on the lack, then that is what grows in. So we should put attention on abundance. That's what would grow in us.
It's consciousness, right? It's all about consciousness and understanding that you are that expression of the divine, and that where you put your focus. I think Sri calls it intention, attention, manifestation.
Exactly.
Is the process that he calls it. And so that's exactly what we teach as well, is where you put your focus. It's not that the darkness doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that lack doesn't exist, but where you put your focus is what you experience more of. So that's why people who suddenly win the lottery can't hold the money that they receive. It's because they don't have, they're going to use all that money up, and then they're still going to feel in consciousness that they are less and they have less. It's never going to be enough.
Yeah. I just read an article. It's interesting you mentioned the lottery. I just read an article which was saying that those who win the lottery, they don't keep the money or they don't manage to keep the money because they believe they don't deserve it.
Yeah, their
And
consciousness.
this consciousness is not permitting them to keep it.
That's true about love or anything else that you actually perceive that you have a lack of. Just because you get it for that moment, if you haven't actually expanded fame, whatever it is, people self-destruct all the time because they haven't changed their consciousness. And I think that it's interesting that you brought up that scripture, that quote from Jesus, because people misunderstand that. And they think that, the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. That's not what it means at all. It means exactly as you communicated it, that it's what you put your attention on.
It's how we feel. The feeling is what is more important. And when Hinduism, for example, talks about you can worship in any form you want, because what they're saying is that it's really the feeling of devotion within you which causes that expansion, which causes that growth. The process you're following to express that devotion is irrelevant. It may be very different for you than it is for me, but that's not what is relevant. The relevant thing is what's in your heart. The devotion is the same as what is in my heart, the devotion.
Yeah, that's why I played that song in the beginning. I like to play music in the beginning just to sort of let us ease into the time that we spend together, but it also, the song was very relevant, because those of you, you don't know, but I think Art of Living has changed it some, but when I first took the happiness course, we went around the room and looked one another in the eye.
We do.
We said, I belong to you.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about belongingness. Everything we are looking for in life. If we can feel a sense of belongingness to this entire creation, everything we are looking for in life is already there.
Yeah.
What is important is feeling that sense of belonging. Yeah. And what's also great, Beverly, now is that given the world we are in, Sri has designed and approved an online happiness program. So we don't actually have to be physically present. In fact, April 17th to 19th, I am teaching a happiness program, which is going to be completely online. And we're teaching that. We did 7 pilots, and the pilots have been extraordinarily well received. So if there's interest here, I'll share information with you, and please pass it along to anybody who may be interested.
Absolutely. Well, do you have a URL or something? If they are interested, you want to type it in the chat?
Yes.
Like you know it off the top of your head, right? I know it starts with tiny URL.
I will get it out really quickly.
That way, if anybody's interested, because I highly recommend the happiness program. Actually, every program, was it Monday, I think I was speaking, we were talking about oneness in our Metaphysical Monday class. And I shared an experience I had after a series of meditations with John Osborne in the Blessings course. And the transformational experience I had, it was just, it changed my understanding 100%. I mean, it just deepened my awareness of oneness and the fact that, not only is God everywhere in all things, as you were describing, but the experience of that, I am also that, it was just amazing.
It
I'll
is a
tell you
very
about it
powerful
more
program.
specifically sometime. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just building on what you said, Beverly. It's a very powerful program. The Blessings is a more advanced program. The Basic Happiness program also, 30 million people all over the world have benefited from it. So it's just really taken off since Sri started off 37 years back. And it's really the core of what we offer as a service to everybody. The physical programs actually had a higher fee also. It was $395. For online, we are offering it at $190. And I volunteer for the program. I don't get paid for the program. The money goes to the foundation and all the charitable work foundation does.
Okay, well, we have about a minute. Are there any last comments or questions from anyone?
I absolutely enjoyed it. Thank you very, very much. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Rajneesh, this was amazing. I mean, we didn't plan this. The things that you shared from your own divine guidance, 100%, in alignment with what we teach. And of course, unity, just like Hinduism, you can find that alignment regardless,
Yeah.
of what your background of study is. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for
I appreciate you, and
having
I
me.
miss you, my friend. I wish we were still organizing courses together.
Yeah, come over sometime. Let's,
Yeah.
would love to catch up with you. Yeah.
That would be great.
Thank you very much, Jai Gurudev. Victory
Jai
to the greatness
Gurudev.
in all of you.
Yes.
Thank
Jai
you, Ryan.
Gurudev.
Really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for participating. Bye, Rajneesh.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all.
Good night.
Very much.